Joining me now is one of the most important voices on this and one of the top constitutional thinkers of our time, Professor Akhil Reed Amar. He's a professor of law and political science at Yale University, an expert on constitutional law, and the host of America's Constitution podcast. Professor Amar, good to see you. Thank you for being with us this morning. Help me out here, because you and I have talked, and you know I am no constitutional scholar. So what are we talking about here? What is this Constitution? What is this argument? Are we both a republic and a democracy? Are we more of a republic than a democracy? Help us out.
Yes, it is both. Tastes great, less filling. Two great tastes that taste great together. Our two great parties, of course, have built on these two words. Let's take what we call the Democratic Party or the Democrat Party. It actually began as Jefferson's party. And when Jefferson and James Madison co-founded it, it was alternatingly called the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, the Democratic Republicans, potato, potato. The basic idea is we, the people, are the ultimate sovereigns, and we operate both through direct and indirect mechanisms, through voting and through representative processes, through juries, for example. Now, some of the audience members may have actually, from high school, read a Federalist paper, an essay about the Constitution by a man named James Madison, and he tried to distinguish republics and democracies, but no one else at the time did. Let me just read you a passage or two, or quote a passage or two from the other great founders. John Marshall, he's Chief Justice of the United States in the early 19th century, our greatest Chief Justice. And here's what he says in the Constitutional Ratifying Convention. He says, we idolize democracy. We contend for a well-regulated democracy. We believe in a well-regulated democracy. The guy who, his name is James Wilson. He writes the words, "We the people." He's the most prominent lawyer of his time. He's one of the six people on the first five people on the Supreme Court. As an associate justice, he's one of only six people to sign the Declaration of Independence of the Constitution. And he says, the democratic principle is carried into every part of the government. So it's both, and one party shouldn't be trying to discredit the other party this way.
So I guess the question is, what does one get from that? What do these folks in Arizona get for saying, hey, we're not a democracy? Stop saying we're a democracy. We're a republic. Where does that lead in practical terms in 2022?
It delegitimates the Democratic, or sometimes they call the Democrat Party. So that's just as a meme, okay, a branding and trademark. It means, don't trust the voters in Arizona. They might vote for Biden, okay? So we, the legislature in Arizona or Georgia or Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, there are a bunch of states that have red legislatures and blue presidential electorates. And what's going on is a carefully laid plan in 2024 to actually start to take power away from the voters in the presidential election and relocate them to the Republican state legislature, Republican in two senses, Republican Party, but also indirect and filtered. But in a lot of these places, because of gerrymandering and geographic clustering and other things, you've got red state legislatures and blue presidential electorates. And that's what's going on.
And part of this works into this whole concept of the independent state legislature theory. The idea that your state legislature is your choice and your representative. And when you elect those legislators, the decisions are up to them.
Right. And 2 points on that. One, it is true that the Constitution gives a lot of power to state legislatures, but state legislatures are creatures of state constitutions. They aren't really independent. And state constitutions come from the people of the state. And the people of the states adopt constitutions democratically, and they have, in many states, initiatives and referenda. And these state constitutions are enforced by state Supreme Court justices who are often elected statewide in a democratic fashion rather than in districts, which can be gerrymandered. So you're going to hear a lot more about this independent state legislature idea. Stay tuned. It will be the version of John Eastman's efforts to steal the thing in 2020. And if your audience wants more on this, you were very kind, Ollie. Thanks for mentioning the podcast, America's Constitution. We've got actually several episodes on independent state legislature theory. And stay tuned, because the Supreme Court's going to be hearing an important case about that this coming term.
I'm glad
our audience
you said
doesn't
that.
know about it yet, but they need to. It's really important.
I think that's right. And often people tweet me after segments like this and say, where can I get more about this? So I'm glad, because for the rest of us who are not Professor Akhil Reed Amar, we need to understand what this argument is and how to deal with it. So we appreciate that. Thank you. Akhil, good to see you again. Thank you very much. Professor Akhil Reed Amar is a professor of law and political science at Yale University and host of the America's Constitution podcast. This may not be one that's on your list, but now it should be, because this is going to become very, very important, and it's going to play out over the next 3 months. Akhil, good to see you. Thank you, friend.
Thank you.